Well, I think of Washington as the place they give us theory, the way things ought to be. The president proposes a new tax because it will help business. Or the Federal Reserve looks at the economy and says, we need to raise interest rates because we see inflation. But it's business that has to report the facts. Yesterday, General Mills reported their quarterly earnings, and that report went a long way to providing some answers about taxes and inflation. Today, I'll look at corporate taxes, inflation, and the General Mills quarterly financial results. Welcome, it's Thursday, March 22nd, and this is Value Side. I'm your host, David Ravel. Well, you're no doubt familiar with the various brands of the 161-year-old company, General Mills. Such well-known cereals as Cheerios, Chex, Wheaties, and Lucky Charms, baking products like Betty Crocker's and Bisquick, and of course, Haagen-Dazs ice cream, all under the General Mills banner. This is a fully mature national brand whose products literally appear on everyone's grocery store shelves. And so, it's the perfect company to see how those twin issues of taxes and inflation are working in the real world. First, let's take a look at taxes. The TCJA, that's the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, as you probably recall, was passed on December 22nd of last year. And so, rather than phasing any benefits in over the entire year, companies needed to adjust their tax reporting for the last calendar quarter of the year. Incidentally, there is a provision in the Act to allow companies to adjust tax liability in the following year if needed. Well, in any event, General Motors elected to take the tax benefits this year. So in reading note number 6 of their financial announcement, General Mills' effective tax rate went from a 23% charge to an 89% benefit. That's right. The taxes paid earlier in the year more than offset their quarterly tax rate due in this quarter. In dollars, that was a $500 million benefit for General Mills. And, as we'll see, money that the company can use in a very highly competitive environment, and money that may be needed to offset some increasing expenses. So, let's look at how inflation is affecting General Mills. Yesterday, we discussed the factors that were leading the Fed to raise interest rates, and I questioned whether inflation was high enough to warrant higher rates. Well, I may owe Mr. Powell an apology, because here clearly, General Mills is experiencing some pretty intense pressure from rising prices. Specifically, they have higher costs in both raw agricultural goods used to make their foodstuffs and in transportation costs. And I suspect that it is the rising freight costs that are really having an impact. Overall, gross margins were down 2.6% for the quarter for General Mills. So there you have it. The macro picture from General Mills is that the new Tax Act is having a very positive effect on their results. But this is being mitigated by the rising price levels of agricultural products and transportation costs, inflation in an early stage. Now, the market did not like what it saw at all, dropping General Mills' share price over 9% on the day, and not just General Mills. All of the processed foods were down over 3% last I looked, including Kellogg's, Smucker's, and Conagra. Conagra, incidentally, reports their earnings today. Apparently, the market expects to see the same basic results for Conagra. So on the earnings calendar today, as indicated, we are scheduled to see those Conagra results. We'll pay special attention to whether they too are experiencing raw good and transportation inflation. A big name in technology will be up, Micron Technology, the $71 billion market cap company focused on DRAM and flash memory. Also up today will be the Olive Garden parent company Darden's Restaurant. And finally, for those of us who like to leave the snow, there's always Carnival Cruises expected to report earnings today. In economic reports, we'll see the jobless claim report today, a flash report on the Purchasing Managers Index, and finally, the leading economic indicators. And that brings you up to date on the investment markets for today. We'll be back tomorrow to see how we did. This has been a copyrighted edition of Value Side, published before the opening of the New York Stock Exchange for Thursday, March 22nd. Don't forget, you can hear Value Side on Google Music, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and now on YouTube. For all of us at Value Side, I'm David Revell, hoping you have a great day.